Theodore Seuss Geisel was born on March 2, 1904 in Springfield, Massachusetts, and spent his childhood there. At 22, he moved to a studio apartment in New York City, the center of the publishing world. He soon found steady work as a staff writer and artist for Judge, the world's wittiest weekly, as it called itself. To celebrate, he went out for a spaghetti dinner with a woman who had told him, "That's a very good flying cow." Her name was Helen Palmer. Ted married her when he was 23, and she never stopped encouraging him. Ted moved on to advertising, drawing bizarre bugs for Flit, a popular insect repellent. This work left him with a lot of money and free time and more energy than ever. He wrote an alphabet book starring his weird animals. Every publisher rejected it. A few years later, while coming back from Europe on a ship, Ted was distracted by the rhythm of the ship's engines. The rhythmical phrase, "and to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street," popped into his head. He remembered the street name from Springfield and used it to create a children's story that was rejected by 27 publishers. The 28th, where an old Dartmouth classmate worked, published it in 1937. Ted was 33. Back in Springfield, neighbors worried that this new book, "And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street" by Dr. Seuss, was some kind of nosy account of real people and their medical problems. But Ted had taken his memories of parades around Springfield and constructed a fantasy about a boy whose imagination is too wild for adults. The book made little money, but the reviews were fantastic. Ted kept up his advertising work and continued trying out children's book ideas. One morning, he noticed a stranger wearing a pompous hat on the train from Springfield to New York. He began thinking up a story that involved 48 hats, adding more and more until he had the 500 hats of Bartholomew Cubbins. Another morning, a breeze blew the sketches around on his drawing board, and an elephant suddenly appeared to be sitting in a tree. This was the birth of Horton Hatch's The Egg. During World War II, Ted joined the Army and was sent to Hollywood, where he wrote documentaries for the military. His first post-war book was McGillicuddy's Pool, which he dedicated to his father, the fisherman. It remains many people's favorite Dr. Seuss book and was the first to win a Caldecott Honor Citation from the American Library Association. Another Caldecott Honor book followed, Bartholomew and the Oobleck, and then a third, If I Ran the Zoo, which came out of his experiences at the Forest Park Zoo. Reviewers raved that Dr. Seuss books were not like any others previously published for children. They were incredibly funny, with the momentum that propelled readers to the end. They were always respectful towards children, and not always respectful towards authority, the rule makers. By 1948, Ted and Helen had moved to a large house in La Jolla, California. Ted's studio overlooked the Pacific Ocean, but he usually kept his desk turned away from the view. Surrounded by doodles, with Theophrastus, his stuffed dog, always near his drawing board, he worked every day of the week, starting each morning at around 9 o'clock. Draft after draft, sketch after sketch, the creative process boiled down to two things, he believed: time and sweat. Sometimes he wasn't satisfied with his work until midnight. He wrote and drew to please himself. He was happy when the results pleased others, though he occasionally felt a little awkward about being known only as a children's book writer. As the years went by, his great works for adults didn't happen. The year 1957 was Ted's electric year. One day his publisher gave him a challenge to write a story using a list of the words first graders needed to learn to read. With just 225 of the words, he wrote The Cat in the Hat. The book did not come to him in a flash. It took him a year to write, but it went on to instant success. At age 53, he would never have to worry about money again. That same year, How the Grinch Stole Christmas appeared, another book over which he sweated, but that became an instant classic as well. 3 years later, his publisher bet Ted $50 that he couldn't write an entire book using only 50 words. The result was Green Eggs and Ham. For many years, his most popular book. Millions of children all over the world made the switch from not a reader to I can read while reciting the tale of Sam I Am. Dr. Seuss became a beloved icon. But Ted Geisel wasn't born Dr. Seuss. Instead, the birth of Dr. Seuss was a long process, not all of it comfortable. After he started beginner books with The Cat in the Hat, he invented another name, Theo Lessig, which is Geisel spelled backwards, that he used for some books he wrote but did not illustrate. Helen, his wife, died in 1967, and Ted married Audrey Stone Diamond. As he grew older, his books became more openly serious. He called The Lorax, which came out of his anger at pollution, his favorite. It was published in 1971, but took 10 years to become as popular as his other books. In 1974, a newspaper published a piece called Richard M. Nixon, Will You Please Go Now? It was a parody of Ted's book, Marvin K. Mooney, Will You Please Go Now?, which was used with his permission. In 1984 came the Butter Battle book, Ted's creative response to the race for nuclear arms. He started calling this his best book. You're Only Old Once, which is about old age, was published on his 82nd birthday. That year, he returned to Springfield, strolling down Mulberry Street, visiting the owners of his old house on Fairfield Street. Hundreds of children gathered to chant, "We love you, Dr. Seuss! We love you, Dr. Seuss!" Stage fright had remained a problem for him, and he avoided the spotlight whenever possible, but on this day he walked through the crowd, shaking hands, and could be seen wiping away his tears. In 1990, his fastest-selling book, Oh, the Places You'll Go, was published. It contained echoes of many of his previous books. He had been awarded a special Pulitzer Prize, plus honorary doctorates from 7 universities, including Dartmouth, his alma mater. His books sold hundreds of millions of copies, the best-selling children's books ever. He often credited life on Fairfield Street for all he had accomplished. He gave money away to libraries, art museums, scholarship funds, charities, and of course, zoos. On September 24th, 1991, when he died at age 87, many people felt as if they had lost a close personal friend. In Springfield today, you can visit the Dr. Seuss National Memorial Sculpture Garden. And wherever you live, you can read his books, all still in print.